So this is a theory that I have about learning. To learn something new, you must temporarily forget what you already know. In my mind, when I see this, I kind of compartmentalize it like in packing boxes that you kind of have to reopen and revisit once you start reincorporating new stuff. And it's important to keep in mind that the space is infinite and that we recollect information. If you treat information as something that is useful, like how is this useful to me now in this moment? How is this information getting me to where I need to be? Is it encouraging information? What is this information? Why am I teaching? A lot of times we find ourselves studying information and we don't even know how this is relevant. Like you hear a lot of kids complaining when they're growing up, how do I need math? So the way that it happens is you have to kind of like put aside and put behind you what you think you know, and there's nothing wrong with knowing things. Like if you know something, you know something. If you've been through an experience, you know it, and that also needs to be acknowledged in its own right. Like, because if you pretend that you don't know something, that does something negative and backwards and gets something twisted as well. So you shouldn't have to like hide yourself, but you shouldn't have to necessarily prove that you know anything either. But so you temporarily put something aside, and then you learn what you need to learn from whatever source, whether it's through a book, a teacher, a class, whatever. Then once you finish your book or whatever class you're in, then you reincorporate that information back with what you already know. And sometimes it can seem really abstract, and sometimes it doesn't seem to fit, and sometimes you'll study things and it will take you on a whole other like pathway of study that seems intriguing but has nothing to do with what the original question was about, or the original practice. But a lot of this stuff really has to do too with our understanding of time, like the way that you can picture a person's life from birth to death in a few seconds, but the actual living of that is a different timing. And so I like to think of it as like when you look at it as a bird's eye view versus an ant's eye view. When you see something from the top, it's more or less, you can kind of get an idea of where you're at. But once you're on the ground and walking in it, amongst the trees, amongst the the buildings, amongst the people and animals, and it's a different timing. The timing it takes to get from A to B, a bird's eye view, is different than the timing that it takes to get A to B on foot. And that's just kind of how information and knowledge works. It's a matter of timing.